I was addicted to kratom for 3 years, but I still don't think that it should be illegal. Why is this? Hi, my name is Becca, and here on this channel, we talk about addiction and recovery to kratom, cannabis, all sorts of other things. So if this is your first time coming by, I welcome you to join us. So why do I feel this way as somebody who was addicted to kratom for 3 years? Why do I think that it should be kept legal? I believe this because, as with other substances that have a risk to them, there is a time and a place for these substances. For example, opiates are highly addictive and they can cause a lot of damage in many different lives. But I do believe that there is a time and a place for these substances. My brother over on the channel Out to Sea, if you don't know him, Ian is a super rad dude, and he did a video that really sums up the place and the purpose for these substances, opiates, and in fact kratom as well. So I'm going to actually link that video here on this channel. But he broke it down and I found this very profound, that opiates and in turn kratom, which mimics opiates in our brains and our bodies, are for the dying. They are, I believe, naturally occurring in nature because they serve the place of when we are dying. They provide relief to those who are in the pain and in the mental space of death. So in this, and this is something that Ian breaks down really well in his video, that there is a nature to these substances, and it's kind of this dichotomy that is super interesting, that if we use these substances and we're not dying, they have a way of mimicking death within us when there is the abuse of them and the dependency and the addiction to them. So that's really profound when you think about it, that so if they're not used, if they're abused and they're used improperly, then when we become addicted to them, there is almost a mimicking of death in how we feel and how our bodies react to them. And if you've ever been addicted to opiates or to kratom, you know what I mean, that there is this slow dying of our minds, our bodies, our souls, our lives in the dependency to kratom or opiates. So I don't believe that kratom should be illegal. I believe that it should be used in very specific circumstances where there is a terminal illness that causes great pain, that causes great mental suffering. And I do also believe in this steps out of terminal, but I do see that there are some extreme chronic pain conditions that I've seen, situations where there's slipped discs in the back, where there are debilitating pain conditions that are affecting someone's life. And the only other alternative is opiate pharmaceuticals. I do see that kratom can have a benefit there, but I mean extreme pain conditions, because I started taking kratom because I have a pain condition. There's also a dichotomy with that though too, that opiates lower our tolerance to pain. So in my personal experience, which my pain condition is not an extreme pain condition, but it is chronic. And so I understand that if you have a slipped disc or you have something else where there is an extreme, pain sort of thing going on, that my example may not pertain completely to you. But for me, what I found is that, and this is just the nature of kratom and the nature of opiates, that our natural ability to deal with and process pain is going to be compromised when we take something like kratom or opiates. So in turn, we're taking something to manage the pain, but in turn, it's actually lowering our ability to be able to handle pain on our own. So there is a dichotomy with that too. And that's something that those who take kratom for pain are oftentimes faced with, because really ultimately it makes the pain worse. So that's something that in a very select, very few set of circumstances where there is like debilitating, you cannot function, you have slipped discs sort of thing, that I think that kratom can be beneficial. But then, like I said, there's going to be the trade-off of our body's ability to fight the pain on its own being compromised. But if it's trading the kratom for the use of pharmaceutical opiates, I think that in very select cases that it can be beneficial. But these are the only things that I see kratom being useful for. And that's why I don't believe that it should be illegal. I don't believe that alcohol should be illegal. We just legalized cannabis here in Illinois, in the state that I live in. I don't believe that cannabis should be illegal. But what I do believe with all of these substances and with kratom, and I do think that we're falling short with this on kratom, is that I believe that the risks and the dangers of these substances should be well known and should be advocated for and should be easily found when one begins to search about what's, the deal with these substances. Because I am somebody that ended up trying kratom because it was painted in this light that it was harmless and a cure-all and no more addictive than coffee. I first heard about kratom on like the Joe Rogan podcast and Lance Armstrong advocating for it, who is an athlete. And so I saw kratom as this harmless, benign, legal herbal supplement at first. And I think that needs to change. We understand the risks of alcohol. We understand the risks of tobacco. I am seeing this in cannabis, that the risks aren't being as clearly communicated, but I think that we're going to get there at a certain point. I do see the risks. You know it if you lived through the 90s and you saw the whole opiate epidemic where opiates were being overly prescribed, and there are many people who ended up addicted to opiates because of pharmaceuticals, who then ended up on harder opiates like heroin and fentanyl. So the risks of opiates. But I do believe that with kratom, because there is a, should I call it an agenda? I shouldn't call it an agenda. I should call it, there is the desire to keep kratom legal and to keep kratom painted in this light that it is harmless. And I understand why people want to do that. I understand why there are the kratom advocates. But we need to be honest and we need to be open about the risks of this herb, this substance, whatever you want to call it, because there are a lot of people who don't understand the risks and the dangers to it, and they find themselves hopelessly addicted to it, and it can have the potential to cause a lot of damage. So this is why I think that kratom should be kept legal. And you're welcome to begin a conversation about that in the comments below. I know that this can sometimes get heated amongst kratom advocates and amongst people who are addicted to kratom, because a lot of people think that it should be kept should be made illegal. So let's start talking about it below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.